What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Jungle Cup once again, and the team we're taking a look at today is Thievul, Swalot, and Shadow Charizard. Yeah, this is a pretty weird team, but the combination of Thievul, Swalot, and Shadow Charizard was actually a really strong one, and we're actually going to be focusing on Dragon Breath Shadow Charizard today. Of course, the recommended moveset is Ember, but if you look at the Sims in the Jungle Cup in the one shield scenario, Dragon Breath actually has a better win rate, especially with more shields in play. So that is how we're going to be playing Charizard today. Swalot, we're looking to soft lose matchups and just give Charizard an energy lead and grab shields. And then Thievul just makes really great core, week 2 fighting, week 2 fairy. Just things that Charizard covers pretty well, same with the Swalot. And it has a lot of neutral play in this meta. There's not many darks, and the darks, there's a lot of dark charge moves that are resisted on Thievul. So that's kind of why I wanted to take a look at today. So without further ado, let's take a look at the battles. Okay, into the first match, we've got Thievul into Credilli. This is a quite neutral lead, and this is honestly what we're looking for. So just gonna farm up to 7 sucker punches here and then go for the Night Slash on the CMP tie, winning CMP. Thievul has about an 1800 something stat product, so not quite as bulky as the Credilli. That said, we get the 2x attack boost from the Night Slash on the very first one, and then in comes a Gyarados. But Gyarados, because we overfarmed in the original matchup, is going to get outpaced twice here. So they can commit 2 shields, but I can just commit a shield right back. So as long as I grab 2 shields and get them into a range where I can farm them down with Dragon Breath, then this game will be over. So gonna go for Night Slash number 2. If we grab that second shield, this is exactly where we want to be. The opponent doesn't want to take any more damage from the boosted sucker punches, so they will throw immediately. Aqua Tail picks up the knockout, but all that does is set up farm for the Shadow Charizard. What wants to take a Shadow Blast Burn? There's pretty much nothing in this game, so the opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. This time we see the Shadow Gyarados on the lead, so once again, just going to play out this matchup. They can go for the Aqua Tail and outpace, but we can actually live one Aqua Tail, and you're going to notice the damage of these sucker punches are doing way more than the damage of the Gyarados. That said, the opponent comes in with a Fortress, and I accidentally click on the wrong Pokemon. I come in with my Swalot. But that doesn't mean this game is necessarily over, because bug bites are resisted, and while I do have single resisted ice beams in this matchup, which are now lowered because of the Rock Tomb, it should put me in a position where I can potentially get an energy lead with either the Thievul or the Charizard to close out this game. So I will go for Ice Beam number 2. The opponent now will look to pick up the knockout with the Rock Tomb. I'm not even sure Rock Tomb does pick up the knockout from this range. No, not quite. Can I get to another charge move? It looks like I'm just barely going to be able to get to a double resisted Sludge. This is now 2 times lowered, but it does chip them a little bit, and now back in comes Thievul. We're nearly at the back-to-back charge move, so the opponent really can't afford to shield. Night Slash does pick up the knockout. Do they want to come back in with the Gyarados? No. Instead, they're going to come in with a Quagsire in the back. And you know what? Seeing a Water in the back against your only remaining Pokemon being a Fire Pokemon is not a great position to be in. But fortunately, we're on Dragon Breath, and Mud Shots are resisted. So this game isn't completely over. We do have a 2 shield advantage in this endgame, so I can commit the shield on the Aqua Tail. I mean, they have 2 shields as well, but we kind of have a 3rd shield with Swalot, and we are going to get that catch of the next Aqua Tail. And now we just look to farm down the Gyarados. The Gyarados will be able to make it to a charge move, so I'm just going to throw my energy right away. Air Cutter does end up grabbing a shield, but that is actually better for me, because now I can look for the full farm down with the Shadow Dragon Breaths. They're not going to get to another charge move, and I'm going to come out with nearly back-to-back Air Cutters loaded, and the opponent is energy dry because we caught on Swalot. So here comes Air Cutter number 2. This is already boosted once. The opponent lets that go, knowing they need to survive 1, but unfortunately they can't, so we get the Dragon Breath farm down, and we are able to take that win. Neutral lead in the next match, we've got Thievul into Altaria. We do have super effective coverage in Play Rough here, so I am going to farm up to it and go for the Play Rough right away. My goal in this matchup is to no shield any charge move from the Altaria, knowing that we can live it, and either grab a shield or pick up the knockout with the Play Rough. If we grab a shield, then I just come in with my Swalot, because I have double super effective Ice Beam here, and I can tank any charge move, so I can just no shield this. And the more shields I grab is the better that Charizard does in the back. So gonna look for the Ice Beam. The opponent goes for a catch onto a Shadow Scizor in the back, which is pretty unfortunate. because Shadow Scizor does resist all of my charge moves here, but that's okay because they're going to look for the full farm down. But here comes a second Ice Beam, and this Ice Beam might actually threaten a knockout. So yeah, the opponent is going to commit both shields in this matchup. Now in comes the Thievul, I would imagine, to absorb this damage. No, I'm going to go in with the Charizard, go for a Peekaboo play with the catch onto my Thievul. Night Slash does pick up the knockout. Back in comes the Charizard. I really don't want to take a charge move here, so I will end up committing the shield on the Night Slash. Night Slash does get shielded up, and back in comes the Altaria. They are able to outpace me to the charge move. But the question is now, can I get a full Dragon Breath farm down before they're able to make it to another charge move? And I think the answer is yes, we get the full Dragon Breath farm down. We come out with so much energy. The Scizor is also energy dry. I'm just kind of worried about the bullet punches, even though they are resisted. Back in comes the Scizor. I could commit to the full farm down, but don't want to take too much damage from these bullet punches in case something does have fast move pressure in the back. So I pick up the knockout with the Air Cutter, and it's a Piloswine in the back. So here comes a super effective Blast Burn, and Blast Burn will easily one-shot the Piloswine, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Thievul into Credility. So we've actually seen this lead before, and we're just going to play it out the exact same way. You already know we're going to go for 7 Sucker Punches throwing on the CFE tie with the opponent's Rock Tomb. This will do some okay chip, unlikely to grab the shield from the opponent, but it does actually put them into the yellow health range, and that is the advantage of having those stab Sucker Punch damage on Thievul. They do, of course, lower my attack, and they are staying in, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the Night Slash once again on the CMP tie, winning CMP, and if my opponent... actually, we get the 2x boost, but it's a little bit too late, so I will just let this go, and the opponent does end up full charging that. So now in comes Swallow, looking for the full Mud Shot farm down. This is neutral damage, but we actually still can't get the farm down. I was hoping to come out with a little bit of an energy lead, knowing that a Steel in the back would make them incredibly weak to Pangoro. That said, the opponent pivots into a into a Clodsire in the back, so we come in with our Charizard. We go for the Blast Burn on the CMP tie, winning CMP, but the opponent does commit a shield, so I'm going to commit the shield right back, knowing that the opponent doesn't really have a bait in this move. Stone Edge is their bait, but Stone Edge is a very expensive move, so I will now just go for the Air Cutter. I know this is not enough to pick up the knockout, but it does boost my attack, and it puts me in a position where I can kind of overfarm to the back-to-back Air Cutter so that the opponent just can't commit a shield. I'm going to go for it. Can I get to the back-to-back? No, not quite, but if the opponent wants to get off this energy, they will have to commit a shield, and then I can go for the catch, but no, the opponent is going to let that go. In comes a Talonflame in the back, so I'm going to go for a few Dragon Breaths into the Air Cutter. That ends up grabbing a shield from my opponent, and now I think they're in double Sludge range. So here comes Sludge number 1. I know one Ice Beam wouldn't be enough to pick up the knockout, so here comes a second Sludge, and it looks like 2 of those might just be enough to pick up the knockout on the Talonflame, as they are in the yellow, but no, it leaves them into the red health range. Can we get to another Sludge? Not before the opponent makes it to a charge move, but they're 1 short of the back-to-back, which means Fly will pick up the knockout on the Swallow, but we get the Dragon Breath farm down, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Thievul into Lantern, another neutral lead, so we'll just stay in this matchup. The opponent ends up safe switching into a Murkrow, and I do not have a good response to a Murkrow, so I'm just going to stay in, go for the resisted Night Slash, and now that they're in Sludge range, come in with my Swallow where I can absorb this damage, knowing that I pace to the Sludges at the exact same pace as the opponent paces to the foul plays. So as long as I throw my charge move right away, I will be able to outpace because they're 1 turn behind my Thievul. That is able to pick up the knockout. In the back is a Sableye. Sludge is resisted, so I will have to go for an Ice Beam here, but the opponent knows that, so they will throw the foul play to pick up the knockout, but it's not quite enough, so I am able to connect with a resisted Sludge. This will do some okay chip, but it's not going to knock them out. It puts them into the green health, almost into the yellow. Back in comes the Lantern, but Lantern will be met with the Thievul. Thievul able to outpace, make it to the Night Slash. We are praying for a boost because these Sucker Punches really need to start adding up, but no boost comes through. These Water Guns are also really adding up, so I will have to commit a shield, knowing that Charizard is my win con for the back, and Thievul is already getting way too low. I'm able to make it to Night Slash number 2. Does the opponent want to double shield? They do. They're trying to keep their Lantern line for my Charizard. They end up throwing energy, which is probably pretty good for me. I think they're in Blast Burn range. So you know what? I'm going to make a risky play. I'm going to let that go, knowing that these Water Guns are going to do huge damage. I'm still able to get to the Blast Burn. Blast Burn is resisted damage, but it doesn't look it. It picks up the knockout on the Lantern, and now all we have to do is get the full Dragon Breath farm down before they can get the Shadow Claw farm down, and we do. That is absolutely clutch. So we are able to take that win. Into the next match, picking up another neutral lead, Thievul into Shadow Piloswine. Now the issue with this matchup is that we lose CMP and we pace the exact same way. So what I'm likely to do is go for a catch on the second Icicle Spear. I will go for Night Slash number 2, and unless I get the boost, I'm not going to stay in this matchup. The opponent ends up committing a shield, so I'm going to go for the catch onto my Swalot, getting the Icicle Spear catch. This is not going to do too much damage to the Swalot because it is very bulky, and they will end up overfarming here. They end up banking another charge move and then coming in with a Water Gun Lantern of their own. And you know what? That's honestly fine because I can start spamming up these sludges. These mud shots are super effective and they will start adding up. So here comes sludge number 2. The opponent maybe just going to sacrifice their lantern here. And you know what? Baiting out a lantern is absolutely awesome because now I can combo play with the Thievul. I banked a sludge for later also on my Swalot. Does the opponent let this go? They do. That is absolutely huge. Back in comes the Piloswine. Piloswine will get the full farm down, but that does not matter because I have a shield advantage. So I can just commit a shield here, look for the full Dragon Breath farm down, come out with a little bit of energy loaded, but in the back is a Togekiss, and Togekiss is tricky, but I have a sludge loaded, so I know as long as I full send the blast burn, I will either grab a shield or pick up the knockout. If I grab the shield, I can combo play with the sludge, and if I don't grab a shield, it will just pick up the knockout, and the opponent chooses the knockout, hoping that I would go for the bait, but no bait comes through when we are able to take that win. Into the next match, pretty neutral lead. We've got Thievul into Scizor. You're going to notice that our fast move damage is pretty much the exact same. However, they're getting into a Night Slash here just at the same time that we are. So I can just let this go because that's resisted damage, and now I can go for Night Slash with my own. And as long as they didn't get the boost, we're going to be in a pretty good position here. So I will end up going for the Night Slash, going for the catch. The opponent ends up pivoting at the exact same time, down a shield into a Dedenne. So Dedenne, of course, does not have a good matchup here as Sludge is super effective as well as the Mud Shots. Unfortunately, we do pace the exact same to the Parabolic Charge, which means they will be able to boost their defense before I connect with that charge move, but I know another Parabolic Charge doesn't pick up the knockout. So I'm going to overfarm in this matchup, look to farm up to the back-to-back moves, and then pick up the knockout with a Sludge. Can we get there? Yes, we can. One turn before the opponent gets to a charge move of their own. So now the opponent will just let this go. No, they're going to commit the shield and then overfarm for some reason, allowing me to get two back-to-back sludges. This will be enough to pick up the knockout. The opponent has no shields left in play. Back in comes the Scizor, in comes the Thievul. I looked to go for the Night Slash because I could have just committed a shield, but in the back is an Altaria, which means this game is over because after that Night Slash connects, that's going to put them in farm down range. We can come out with a Blast Burn loaded for the Scizor, so they will resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, another Gyarados. So going to play this out the exact same way. Gonna no shield the Aqua Tail and just start spamming out these Night Slashes, but this opponent actually overfarms, allowing me to get to the Night Slash first. Maybe unfamiliar with the Thievul counts. I will now just keep farming the opponent, likely to throw right before I get to the charge move. No, they're gonna overfarm even more, allowing me to get to Night Slash number 2. Are they really willing to commit 2 shields early in this game? Yes, they are. And now they're gonna start spamming out these Aqua Tails, but unfortunately for my opponent, one Aqua Tail is not enough to pick up the knockout, which means I might be able to get a full Sucker Punch farm down, but not before the opponent gets the Dragon Breath farm down. In comes a Swalot to absorb the energy, but no, they pivot into a Clawzard, banking that energy for later, so I have to keep in mind that that Gyarados has an Aqua Tail loaded, but I can just stay in this matchup because I know I will be able to outpace the opponent, and that one super effective charge move is not enough to knock out, so I will save my shield for the Charizard. Sorry, my 2 shields, and I will be able to outpace the Clawzard, throwing the Ice Beam on the CMP with their Stone Edge. Ice Beam is super effective damage, and they are switch locked, so they are stuck in this matchup, taking that damage, and down they go. Back in comes the Gyarados to pick up the knockout on my Swalot, but this is exactly what I want, because a 2-shield Charizard in the back can be virtually everything in the game, and it is an Altaria, so these Dragon Breaths are doing super effective damage. We can boost them with the Air Cutter as well. The opponent ends up just force closing the app, which is why you see it super sped up. I end up just fully Dragon Breath farming them down, Dragon Breath farm downing the Gyarados, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, and potentially the final match or second to final match of the video, we've got Thievul into Altaria. So we've seen this matchup before, going to play it out the exact same way. Just go for the play rough and either pick up the knockout or grab the shield. I end up accidentally swiping out of the app, but fortunately we end up grabbing a shield from my opponent. So now in comes the Swalot. We've grabbed a shield already, so I know I can absorb this energy here and go for a double super effective Ice Beam. But the opponent decides to stay in and dump all of their energy into my damage sponge, which is absolutely fantastic, and then in comes a Cradilly. So the opponent clearly very weak to the Swalot, as acid is resisted and we have super effective ice beam for coverage. The opponent will end up throwing their energy right away. They do not want to take any extra damage. Rock Tomb will pick up the knockout on the Swalot, but we already have a shield advantage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my Thievul. I'm going to overfarm as much as I can, going for the Night Slash on the CMP tie. Night Slash, of course, Thievul, of course, winning CMP, picking up the knockout on the Credilli. Is it going to be the Altaria that comes back in, or will they show me their third? It's going to be their third, which is a Fortress. So I'm going to stay in this matchup, connect with a Night Slash, because this will basically put it in Dragon Breath plus Air Cutter range. And now in comes the Charizard. The opponent comes back in with the Altaria, but Altaria will get outpaced. We make it to the Air Cutter. They end up just letting that go. So now we have a 2-shield Charizard against a Fortress in the back. So the opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. But yeah, that is Shadow Charizard in the Jungle Cup, an absolutely menace of a closer. And honestly, both Swalot and Thievul played really, really well for this meta, I have to say. Thievul was extremely neutral into virtually every single lead that I saw in this meta, which made it like an incredible pick. Swalot, just a fantastic damage sponge with great coverage into both your fairies and your dragons. And then you've got Shadow Charizard, of course, in the back with a shield advantage, beats virtually everything in the game. So other than like Water Gun Lantern, pretty much. But we did beat a Water Gun Lantern with the Shadow Charizard, funny enough. But yeah, that's going to be it for me from this video. Before I wrap up this video, though, I want to say thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Green Mustache, Soham Patil, Eliana, Perry G, Blue Nation, Peter Rushworth, Alright 504, Chompus Clips, and Sons of Code, as well as an extra special thank you to the Legend Trader members on this channel: Andrew Pitten, Moosachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Estros, Fast Eddie Boss, CD Slaskus, and Castle. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace!